Hi everyone. This morning we're going to review the instructions for pleating the Nancy Newell We Care program gown. This is available for free if you go to the Saga website and go to the heading About Saga and go under Programs and then We Care. This is downloadable for free. A few tips before we get to pleating about cutting out. I'm doing the size that's the 3 to 4 pound. It gives you the dimensions to cut out. I use Imperial Batiste because let's remember that until these are used, these gowns are probably stored in a box, and the polyester content in the Imperial Batiste will keep them from getting so crushed and wrinkled. You can use any material you want. So the dimension for this gown was 36 by 18 for the long version, which is what I've done. So we're going to fold, I have this fabric folded in half, as you can see. Then we're going to fold it in half again. And the only pattern piece that you need is this little cutout. When you cut out the body of the gown, there is no underarm seam, so you need to fold the seam allowance back. You're going to place this on the double fold and cut out this horseshoe shape. When you cut out the sleeve, the dimension for this sleeve was 5 inches by 9 inches. Then you're going to need this seam allowance because you're going to have an underarm. Obviously the sleeve needs to be seamed under the arm. So now we're going to fold this in half again, and this time instead of on the fold you want this on the edge, and then cut out this seam. The next step is to seam this underarm. I just do a 1/4 inch flat seam and press it flat, and then you're going to insert the sleeves into the gown, and it's going to look like this very odd looking thing. Make sure that you put the sleeves in on the same side. I've done it incorrectly a couple of times, so it's a very important feature. I do a 1/4 inch seam, trim it to 1/8, and do a tiny zigzag to finish the edge. I do not do a French seam. It's not necessary on this gown for the purpose it's going to be used. Okay, so now you have this very odd thing with the sleeves flapping off, and you think, how am I going to pleat that? Well, it's fairly easy. We're going to roll this on my dowel. You all know the history of my very large dowel, but it works well for me. So I'm just going to remove this. Okay, I pleat toward me, and I'm going to have the right side of my fabric on the outside, on the top. So that means that this end of the fabric, the far end, is going to go through the pleater first. And because of that, what I want to see hit the pleater first is the seam. So I'm going to fold my sleeve underneath. Can you see that well? So that the bulk of the sleeve is hanging down this way, because I want this to hit the pleater and not catch any of the rest of the sleeve or the body. So I'm going to start rolling. And I just roll that right up like that. Pull it toward me, continue rolling. Again, remember this is going to go through the pleater first. And I want this seam to hit the pleater but not catch the rest of the sleeve or the garment. So I roll it like this. And now it's ready to go in the pleater. Oh, okay, that's nice. Okay, your pattern will tell you how many rows to pleat. I have, I don't even know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 half space rows. It's best to pleat half space rows, but if you have a pleater that doesn't allow half space rows, that's okay. It's not a problem. So I'm going to put the edge of my fabric into the pleater. I'm going to go 1 space up from where my last needle is and start pleating. Okay, here comes my seam. I'm going to take my fabric off my needles to make it easier to go over the seam. And when I get to the seam, I rock it a little just to smush it so it goes through the pleater easier. Once I get through that first seam, I'm then going to come in and fluff this up, because now I just want to go through this sleeve. I don't want to catch the body underneath. So I kind of fluff it up and then carefully just go through the sleeve. Okay, and now I'm going to come to my second seam. Take the pleats off the needles, come to the seam, roll it just a little, just to smush it through. Okay. Now I'm pleating right across the front. You can see the imperial goes through the pleater quite easily, and actually this fabric hasn't even been washed, and it still goes through the pleater very nicely. It's one of the only things that I don't pre-wash. Okay, here comes my sleeve seam again. I'm going to take my pleats off the needle, and now here comes the seam. I'm going to rock it just a little, and I always do this when I pleat things with seams. It just compacts them so they go through a little easier. Okay, now I've gone through that seam. I'm going to take my sleeve, puff it up, and continue to pleat just the sleeve. Okay, now here comes my second seam. I'll take my pleats off my needle, rock that just a little to compress it, and continue pleating through the end. And it's come out nice and even. And now I'm going to take it off the pleater. And there we are. Just a few tips on finishing this. You want to take out your, pull back your pleating threads for about 1 inch so that you have a way of clean finishing and turning under that seam for either a snap, plastic or nylon snap, or ribbons. You can hem your sleeves, hem the bottom, do the sides, and then I always trim these frayed edges and fray check it, and then I pleat, then I smock it, excuse me. When you open this up, you don't have to have any guide or anything. You just kind of open it up to a place where, you know, your pleats are kind of even and it's comfortable to smock. And there you have it. I hope this has been helpful as a review for the class that we did on Thursday. Feel free to call me if you have any questions. Bye.